Well, I'm going to keep it very, very, very honest. And I have a lot of iced coffee running through my veins, but I've got a lot on my mind. See, earlier today in New York City, there was this helicopter crash on 7th Avenue. And the pilot of the chopper, who tried to land it safely after rainy and windy and cloudy conditions in New York, did his darndest. He did die in the crash, the pilot. But before that, I just thought Bill de Blasio, was a flat-out loser in the weekend. He had zero support in Iowa, and he goes on TV and says, oh, well, this is just the beginning. It's a process. But then something that reminded me that actually he is quite mayoral at times. When it comes to a snowstorm or any weather situation, Mayor de Blasio is actually on point with a lot of that. Calming us down, being very direct with what has to be done in the streets of New York with the sanitation, with the snow plows and whatnot. And he's very, very direct that we have to stay off the streets. And 9 out of 10 times, he's been right. By the way, keeping it real with Alexander Garrett. And then this chopper crash happens. The city's shaken up. It's at a standstill on 7th Avenue between 50th and about 54th because the plane crash happened at 51st and 7th. Well, de Blasio came on very direct about what we knew, very direct with the folks around him and with the people of New York City about this crash. It was actually quite calming to hear a mayor take charge and say, there's no terror threat, but of course we are investigating this further. See, that's the kind of mayor I would like to see him be more often. Sadly, it takes tragedy to see him be mayoral. It actually takes being in person with him to see how mayoral he can be. Because when you see the newspapers and the stories, he's coming out with crazy policies. But maybe that's not all Bill de Blasio is. I know it's not, because I've seen him in person. I've rolled up to him. I've talked to him. I've interviewed him a couple of times, at least once. And the mayor I saw today, back from Iowa, addressing the media, addressing New Yorkers about this tragedy, is the mayor who actually should appear more. I will never vote for him for president because I think his policies become too far left. But I do say we have to give the man some credit when credit is due. And guiding this city through any kind of controversy, any kind of tragedy is actually one of his strong fronts to this mayor, to his mayoral tenure as mayor of New York City. Then later in the day, after he did this address, I saw an article that from the Washington Free Beacon that said, Trump is more popular than de Blasio. And that might be true, but on a day like today, where de Blasio was so direct, so in charge of what needed to be said, what needed to be talked about in the city following the crash, it wasn't good to kick the man down while he was getting us through that helicopter crash. It wouldn't have been a good idea. It didn't feel ethical to do that. So that's number one. That's my number one thought on keeping it real with Alexander Garrett. Is that when the mayor or the governor leads you through some sort of crisis, you don't then go and bash him hours later for some poll or for some comment he made. Because while we may or may not want them in there, they are our leaders, and if they show effective leadership during times of crisis, don't throw it in their face that they still may not be popular. Not today. Not on a day where both Governor Cuomo and de Blasio were on the scene working to work us through that tragedy on 7th Avenue. Then that leads me to tonight. And it's very interesting because I always thought that the Canadians were very honest people, were good people, and most of them are. Which is why I was surprised at Scotiabank Arena tonight when Kevin Durant, it was heralded that he would be back on the court for the Warriors tonight. And he gets injured. He had to leave Scotiabank Arena on crutches. It took Kyle Lowry, and his teammate to hush the Toronto fans who were celebrating, that's right, celebrating an injury in their own arena. I was here thinking that they have tons of class, but a friend of mine, Chris Oliva, shared a video where they were outside Oracle Arena pushing around Golden State fans. Now, whenever you think of California, you don't push around fellow Americans in our home state. You don't try and bait them into fights. You don't push us around in our states. No, sir. No, ma'am. I'm not saying every Canadian, every Toronto person is like that. But for a collective rooting for an injury to Kevin Durant, to anybody, is disrespectful. It's ugly. It's not sportsmanlike. It's not as royal as I think the Métis are for the Canadian police. Come on, Toronto. You can do better. And you know what? For what it's worth, you deserve to lose on your home court tonight just for booing Kevin Durant alone. We can't be a world where when a leader's trying to guide us through some sort of tragedy, we kick him while he's down, while the country or the city's down and blocked off for blocks on end. We can't be a world where a man is injured, has to walk off the court on crutches, off the court and then leave the arena on crutches and call ourselves sportsmen. That's not sportsmanlike. Celebrating an injury is farthest from being sportsman, by the way. So come on, Toronto. We can be better. Come on, New York City. We can hold off our criticism of de Blasio during time of crisis because I really believe he leads us through crisis the best we've had in a while. Just my honest assessment tonight on keeping it with Alexander Garrett. Because Toronto can be better. This city can be better. See, what today proved is that, once again, life is bigger than politics and sports combined. Life is, a man's knee was injured on the court today. He had to walk out on crutches tonight in Game 5. And the Warriors fought back. I think part of that was because of Durant's injury. They were driven by that to win it for him and what he was going through. And as far as the city goes, yeah, de Blasio, I think, looks like a buffoon most of the time. But during times of crisis, during times you're right next to him, he's actually not that bad as the media wants to portray him to be. His policies may not be good, but as a person, he literally is bigger than life because he's 6-7 feet tall, however much he is. But he also does make sure he's there to comfort New Yorkers and to get us answers when we need it. And I wish he would stick to that. I think he would be doing the city better if he was worried about what was going on in it than what Donald Trump was doing. Just my opinion. Because when he was leading us today, you could see that he cares about the city. You could see it in those moments. He wants us to be informed. He wants to be protected. He wants to laud the NYPD and the FDNY. I don't know why he doesn't do it every day, but he should. And as far as Toronto goes, I'm just shocked. I am shocked at the behavior I've been seeing from the fan base of the Raptors, both outside Oracle Arena and tonight. Shocker. They deserve to lose in their home arena. Now they have to go back out to the States, I believe, to California. And now they have to win on the road. Not an easy task. But you know what? It might have been an injustice if Toronto won tonight on their home court after booing and cheering, after jeering and cheering Kevin Durant off the court after his very devastating injury once again. The man left the arena on crutches. And you know what? Andy Byford, I know you don't speak for the Raptors, but literally, I think you're right about the Toronto fan base tonight.
You're an idiot, and you deserve to be brought to justice.
Yep, you are. You are a total and complete idiot if you cheered on Kevin Durant's injury. My rant's done now, but when a city's down, you don't kick the mayor who's trying to lead us through it. And when a player's down, you don't kick him while he's down. You say, let's pray for him that he gets back up and is healthy and gets better. Because again, life is bigger than sports and politics and everything else combined. Keeping it real, AlexGNYC is my Twitter. I'm riled up also because the rainout with the Yankees and Mets Subway Series first installment in the Bronx threw me off. But I'm glad I got to see the game, and I can fully say I'm disappointed tonight in the Toronto fan base. And we shouldn't kick people when they're trying to lead us through a crisis, and we shouldn't kick people when they're down. We shouldn't kick a city when we're down, or a city's leadership when we're down. I'm Alexander Garrett. Have a great night. Or have a good morning. It's 12:18 in the morning. Have a good morning as well.